Hey everybody, welcome back to Visual Novel Book Club. I'm your pal Slow Beef. With me, of course, my good friend Polahoko.
Hey.
My good friend Turbo C.
Hello.
My good friend Jim.
Hey everybody.
My good friend Orenronen.
Hey everyone.
My good friend Devious Vacuum.
Hello?
Oh my god.
Hey, we are alive again.
We are. We're here again.
Wow.
It's a new loop.
Back from the dead.
I'm no longer goo.
We restarted the loop.
We're so relieved.
Yeah, I have learned nothing, by the way, so.
Wow, how is that different than ever? What are we? We're stuck in the loop? No, we're still in the second loop, more or less, with Haruaki, right?
Yes.
I mean, technically, I guess.
We read to the second feast, correct?
Right before the third feast.
Third, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotcha. But from last time, we have to start by covering the first feast of this loop. Just gonna tell you all right now, I had a little trouble with this one. As in, like, I didn't really. I felt like there's a couple of rounds of voting, that happened in it, and the second round kind of threw me a bit. But
yeah, it's very technical, like werewolf strategy going on here.
Oh, see, that's what made it like so much easier to follow. Like I was very happy. Like I got like most of the wolves correct in my own guessing before they were revealed and stuff like that. So
interesting.
Did you read to the end of the?
Well, yes, and there's spoilers. I did actually read ahead, so I've finished this.
It's hard not to.
And you guessed who the wolves were?
Yeah, I made my own predictions at the beginning of this route, and I was actually correct.
I guessed who one of the wolves was, but we'll get into that in a moment.
It's hard to guess that one of like I knew, like, obviously the kids can be wolves, but it's still hard to guess that one of the kids is going to be a wolf. It's just sad. It's fucked up.
Yeah. Well,
did any of you actually start the third route yet?
No.
No. Okay, I'm the only one. Okay, so I won't say anything.
Dun dun dun.
Gotcha.
It's a sign of a good novel when everyone does their reading and then wants to go ahead.
I think, though, the game actually gets really, really good when the third route begins.
Oh,
wow.
See, this is a game that's very enticing to read. Like it's a mystery, so like I really want to know if my own predictions are correct and things like that. So
yeah, and you think a lot about like your own werewolf strategy that you want to do and whether they would do it. So let's see. So we left off right before the first feast of the second loop. They just woke up and found out that the photographer Yudai died from breaking the rules, from going outside, and they also found out that there are three wolves. They enter the dining hall, and then the reporter, Hisako Mamiya, is still very upset, but she does go with them. And they sit, and then we get like the full explanation of like how everything, even though we've already seen it, like we get it, the full
Haruaki
explanation.
hasn't for some reason.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, they sit in order by age, and like all the stuff that we already know from the previous loop, but it's new to him. And they make the two new people, Haruaki and Mamiya, sit near the door, so they're like at the bottom of the hierarchy. Oh, and then we get like, now that Haruaki and Mamiya are here, they go around and they drink the sake at the beginning of the ceremony, and the city folks are like, oh, this is actually a pretty good sake, like. How did you get this? Like, where did this come from?
I love Rikiko is just like, yeah, we have a lot of this too, so just go hog.
Drink as much as you want.
Yeah, Haruaki drinks an entire cup, I think.
Yeah, and Takumi drinks too.
Can just sip from it, but he just drinks an entire cup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're gonna die, like, go for it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, serious.
Yeah, it's like a cup, so they're small.
It's like shot glass size.
Is that not done? Like, you're not supposed to drink the whole cup? Is that a faux pas?
No, you definitely do. I mean, sake has a very high alcohol content, so a couple of small cups and you're drunk. But
But like, it may not be the time and the place. It sort of struck me as like going to mass and drinking the whole cup of wine, just going ham on it.
Yeah.
I mean, except at the end of mass, you don't hang somebody usually.
Well, not anymore.
I'm kind of thinking about why, if there was some sort of significance to this sake, and it's kind of got me thinking, if everybody drinks a bit of it, depending on how you handle your liquor, some people could get drunk and like make slip-ups or not make optimal plays, and then there's actually a scene where one person is actually forcing another person to drink more to try to get them to slip up.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that scene because, I mean, the person that gets told to drink more is Haruaki, and he realizes right away, it's like, oh, they're trying to get me drunk so I slip up. But so I'm not sure why he obliged with the request other than, I guess, an elder requested him to do that.
And apparently he can handle his liquor, so.
Yeah.
I guess it's just got me thinking of what would happen if people just played Werewolf and they took shots in between each round.
Mm-hmm. We should do that when we play.
I'm sure it's happened.
That's a perfect Friday night for me.
Yeah, right.
That's going to be when we play. That's what we're going to do.
I mean, you get 3 shots in, and the brilliant play that you have in your mind is just this ridiculous off-the-wall move.
That's how I already am. So, I'll just have one. I'll just have exactly one beer and then call 911.
Like, you don't actually die, and they're not actually werewolves, so it's okay if you want to like fuck around in a game of Werewolf and get a little blitz with your friends. It's fine. Don't let us tell you. You can drink in Werewolf.
It's funny.
Fine.
Mm-hmm. Actually, the only times I've played Werewolf, I was probably drinking at the time. So
it's good, because then the strategies make even less sense.
Yeah, so it's not like one mastermind and like a bunch of idiots, It's like okay, we're all.
It's a bunch of idiots who think they're masterminds.
Yeah, that's much better.
Well, what if it's like the mastermind is the one that gets the most drunk, and they're trying to explain their brilliant play, and it just doesn't make any sense?
That would be great. Also,
yeah, this honestly sounds like the most fun game of Werewolf I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Rather than soberly trying to trick your friends, which not everybody enjoys.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we hear the story from Tae that she gave, that I guess she gave last time. But I guess we know it's unlikely, I guess, that this time she's a wolf. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know for certain, but
she gives the story again.
Random chance. I was actually kind of wondering, like, how does the RNG work for this?
I was kind of like, what if she's a wolf every time? Like, what if she's just one of those people?
That's the way they're like the author tricks us basically is by just they're like they'll never make Ty a wolf like 8 times in a row.
Yeah.
Aww.
That's my rock paper scissors strategy. Just throw scissors every time, and they're like, she'd never do it 3 times in a row, but I would. Works so well.
It's raging loop because it pisses you off with the monotony.
So we hear some different version of the story than we heard previously. We heard we get like the same opening of like, there were the 4 guardians and the wolves were the 5th guardian, and they protected the other guardians from the Yomibito. And we talk about how Kami Fujiyoshi still worships the wolves and like incorporates them in their ceremonies. And then we get I put in my notes, the wolves protected people, but also ate them like cops.
that's true.
So this, if we're supposed to broker peace between like the vengeful wolves and the people of Yasumizu, maybe this is really a story about police reform. So the new part for me was the people and the other guardians got the wolves drunk and then threw them into the Saranaga. I don't remember if that's
the new part we got right now. That's how they killed the wolf.
And the reporter is like, oh, that's true of a lot of folk tales
Yeah. Wasn't that like, I'm gonna flex my Neo knowledge now thanks to the doc, but that's like Shuten Doji and oh crap, the 8-headed snake thing, Yamada no Orochi, like didn't they like go get foiled by getting drunk?
Yeah, Orochi. They get into Orochi a little later in this chapter. They talk about Orochi and a lot of like, when they do the big like lore exposition after the feast.
Oh, that was got it. My recording.
They talk a lot about Orochi specifically.
Gotcha. Okay, I forgot about that. Sorry. Yep. All right, go ahead.
So, but still, the reporter, she asked a bunch of questions and about the stuff, and she asked about the stones, which they call okiba, and they're like, she was like, when were those placed? And they were like, it was before any of us were alive. And they talk about the word okiba and how it originally, they talk about how it means like a place for kindling. And how, like, maybe that, they don't know. They're like, maybe before the watering hole was created, that was a place, but because it would have been, there's no fire allowed on the mountain. So it's like a mystery there of like what they really were, which is different than what we were talking about before of them being like portals. And Tai also describes the three wolves as two parents and a child, which also made me feel like, okay, like one of them's always going to be one of the kids, which is fucked, and I hate it.
Yeah, seriously.
And I wonder if, like, that... Does that mean anything? Does that mean that it's always going to be, like, a man, a woman, and a kid?
Well, in the last one, there were two wolves, and it was Tai and Yasunaga, which was, like, a parent and... Well, I mean, they weren't parent and child, but it was older and younger.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas Tai a wolf again and kind of bullshitting us with lore to throw off the scent? I guess it doesn't really, though. It just gives her more suspicion, right?
Yeah. If she's a wolf twice, then I'm looking forward to the third loop where Haruaki's like, okay, she's a wolf. Like, I'm not fooling around.
Yep.
Just lies. I'm the snake before any roles are even determined.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of throwing the game because you get sick of getting the same roll every time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about how Yasumizu exists to be the first line of defense when the wolves return from Yomi. But still that doesn't totally line up, right? Because if they still worship the wolves in Kamifujiyoshi, then why do they need Yasumizu to defend them from the wolves?
A lot of things don't make sense. And Haruaki points them out every time about how things doesn't really make sense.
No.
Yeah.
And they do also specifically clarify that if the spider stops the wolf attack, then they can't kill anybody else that night.
Yeah, so the way they clarify it is that Tai explains all the rules, all the guardians, and then Haruaki figures that they really need a lot of like explanations and clarifications that she didn't give.
Mm-hmm.
So I specifically ask about that.
So that's why she can't be a wolf this time.
Oh yeah, he notes that she is more forthcoming, so she's probably not a wolf. Yeah.
They also ask her, can the wolves only kill one person a night? Because she didn't actually talk about that. And yeah, and whether if the spider protects someone, does that, and they decide to attack them, does that mean they can't attack anyone else?
Also of note, of people acting differently is Kanzo. He is very forthcoming now instead of the timid guy he was the last round.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they also, I mean, she says that the wolves can only kill one person, but they wonder, why is that? Why don't they just kill everyone? And that's it. Why do they have to follow the rules?
And Haruaki doesn't say anything, but Yasunaga immediately goes for it and questions whether Tai has participated in a feast before. And she says no, because she is actually relatively new to Yasumizu. Even though she's old, she hasn't lived here her whole life. She used to work at the school.
Yeah, I think she always lived in Yasumizu, but there was a period of time about 8 years ago where she wasn't. She helped the school and she lived in Kamifujiyoshi.
Her wild years.
Yeah. I'm really curious, especially like for the older people, like why they were banished to Yasumizu. Like, what did they do?
They were really good at Werewolf the game.
That's what they learn in school. They just learn werewolf strategy when they go to school.
All the people that are too powerful on the table, they just go to the Misfit Village where they can all be good at werewolf.
The prequel to this is Werewolf University.
Oh,
Raging
Raging
God,
you. Please. So then we talk about, we also learn more about Haru's situation. Like, it's, Haru's parents died when there was the mist 8. There was a mist 8 years ago. So the last time this happened was 8 years ago, and it was at the construction site that when the Nosato family started construction there, and everybody died. And Haru's parents were among the people who died.
Yeah, and we learned that when someone mentions God, and then that word triggers Haru in some way.
And Chiami.
Yeah. Chiami just goes like for a second into a like fugue state, but Haru really loses it.
Yeah.
And starts laughing crazily.
It has to be like pinned down by her grandfather.
Yeah, and it's like she's having a panic attack, and Kanzo just like holds her.
They're like, oh, don't worry about her. Her mental illness is doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We don't immediately hear the whole story. We hear that later, but
right.
But yeah. So that happens. And then Tai is like, maybe my grandmother was in one or something like that, which would imply that like her family's always been here also. But who knows? And then Kanzo replies to a question in a way that implies that he has been in a feast before. And I think he even says it later, I think.
Yeah, we basically get confirmation that the old man and him were in one.
Yeah, they do confirm that it's him, the old man, and the person who died. That Gen.
Yeah.
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 They were there for the previous feast, and they survived.
And he says, like, you gotta kill the wolves, is like what he says at that time. But like, there were 3 of them that survived, so they very well could have been the wolves themselves.
Yep.
Unless there's rules, like it has to be like a man, a woman, and a child or something, in which case that wouldn't be possible. I don't know.
No, I think they. My guess is that they're all wolves, or they were all wolves.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think they all are currently wolves, and that it holds over.
No, but I think it's. I'm more inclined to believe that they were wolves in the previous game that they participated in.
And I'm pretty surprised Haruaki never asked, like, oh, hey, Kanzo, were you a wolf? Because if you were, you can tell us more about how this actually works instead of just the rumor mill.
Unless you're a wolf now, in which case you'd be lying, and in which case, never mind me asking. But
yeah.
So do you revert, or do you just stay a wolf who just doesn't kill anybody till the mists come back?
And are you telling the truth right now?
Yeah.
But if he was a wolf, then after it was over, like... Because if the wolves get told that they're like doing God's work, right, and they're righteous in their actions, and then afterward you killed everybody, and then you're left with the realization that you just killed everybody and nothing has changed, right? And then you do it again. Like, either you still believe what you believed before, which is unlikely, I think, in Kanzo's case, or like you realize that this is a trick that is played on the wolves, and I feel like you would, but maybe it's too much to say something because everyone would be suspicious of you, that if you were a wolf last time, that you would still be a wolf this time because of the religious significance of it.
Well, and we, I do think that's sort of what happened to the old man, and why he's a little out of it is like he's gone through this maybe once or too much, or just the last time was really too bad.
So no, I think the old man is faking it. I think he completely realizes what's going on, and he's faking madness.
Oh, I think he's aware of what he's doing, but I think there's also an aspect of him of like a little off kilter because of the feasts.
What if he's doing the long con, right? Where like he's actually completely with it, but just in case he gets into a game of werewolf at some point, nobody can figure out what he's doing.
Yeah, because he's been in so many games. That's why.
Yeah. He lives his whole life for werewolf.
Amazing.
He is a gamer. He lives his whole life as a game.
Yeah. Wow.
The ultimate gamer.
Huh.
But like we learned pretty quickly that we can trust Kanzo.
Yeah. And Kanzo and Yasunaga sort of become the leaders of the group, sort of the most talkative people.
Yasunaga tries to like take leadership, but Kanzo tricks him basically into getting his own.
Yeah, I don't understand this part because Yasunaga does the correct play. He outs himself as a monkey, and he doesn't reveal the other monkey, but he's waiting to see who says they're a monkey, to see if maybe like one of the wolves is somebody who doesn't really understand how the game works and thinks that they just need to lie and say that they're the monkey. But then Kanzo is like, it kind of just blows that plan away, and I don't really get it.
Yeah, no one responds to it. No one comes up as the other monkey.
Yeah, because Kanzo doesn't trust that Yasunaga is really the monkey, which is misguided.
Well, but wasn't Kanzo the other monkey?
Yeah.
So he knows, but he's playing very badly for some reason. Like,
Yeah.
we pretty much get confirmation that Kanzo is a human, but everything he does throughout this, like, throws off every red flag about a werewolf in my mind.
Yeah, Kanzo he doesn't trust anybody.
Is it just because Kanzo doesn't trust Yasunaga, and it's just like, well, I know he's a monkey, but I still don't believe it.
He's just really stubborn, and he doesn't trust anybody.
Oh, he also wants to be in charge. He wants to be in charge, and he knows that Yasunaga has a chance to take leadership from him.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to share that.
Yeah.
Because the kind of has different opinions on what's going on. Kanzo is very strict. We have to hang someone every day, and Yasunaga is much more like, is this really happening? Do we really have to do this?
Yeah. And Kanzo first suggests that Haruaki should die, and Haruaki has to say, no, I'm important, in a way that gets across in a roundabout way that he's the snake, or that he has a guardian and that they shouldn't kill him because he has a guardian.
And a little bit more about Yasunaga and Kanzo. Last time, when Kanzo didn't speak because he was the spider and he didn't want to speak, and Yasunaga did speak a lot, and they didn't kill anyone the first day. They just immediately chose not to kill anyone.
Yeah, so I was just expecting that to happen again, and then Kanzo completely directed everyone to kill someone. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, and they didn't kill anyone this time, but for completely different reasons. Kanzo really wanted to kill someone.
The way that the vote happens in this first round is, it's long and it's complex, but it's interesting when you think about it. Because probably the worst thing that they could do is to just choose not to have a vote. The best thing that they can do is to do what they did and actually lead to a vote that doesn't actually lead to anybody hanging. And that's because they know who people voted for, and that gives them information about who's voting where.
Yeah.
It gives information, but only really at the beginning to the people that are trying to kill someone. Because at a certain point, there's people that are trying to make a tie vote so that no one dies. And you can't really trust their votes because whatever they're voting is to try and make a tie.
Yeah, they still had to rely on Mochi changing his vote. So if he didn't do that, then someone would have gotten killed.
And we know from the future of Mochi's role. So this is interesting.
We don't know that, actually.
Is that not in this reading? Don't we get there?
If you chose the right choice, you would know it by now.
Yeah, because Mochi's the first on the list between him and Haru, right? So you
no, you actually don't. If you only choose the first option every time, you don't know anything about Mochi at this point.
Yeah, I thought the first option, because we're talking about after the feast, like who to investigate as a snake is the option, and my first option was Takumi.
Yeah.
Oh, so we were supposed to investigate Takumi twice?
Yeah, when I did that, I didn't. When I did it, I chose Takumi and then I chose Kiyonosuke, and that's all. That's everyone I investigated. I never investigated Mochi at all.
Oh, but that gives you that. So if you do that the first time, you get the right path. But you get the right path if you do that.
I only did that band ending where you have to know who Mochi is. Like after I finished the route, I went back and did that.
Yeah, like if you're.
And I think that's actually a better way to read this because I didn't know who Mochi was until the very end.
Yeah, I think it is fun, but
now,
for those at home, what you can do is basically You get 3 choices each night. Well, I guess you get 3 choices and then the second night is 5 choices. And you can choose one, but you can also just go back to the chart and choose the other ones and get their keys and find out what their roles are. And it doesn't change anything in the actual timeline. So you can just immediately investigate 3 people right off the bat if you want to, I guess, cheat at the game.
Yeah, the way the game is written is that you choose who you want to investigate, and then you get to know, and you get a key for that. And then the game kind of writes around how that choice doesn't really matter for the narrative. So Haruaki never speaks about who investigated. But then when you actually get to the choices where those keys matter, if you have the keys, but you don't choose the answer that requires the keys, Haruaki acts like as if he doesn't know, even if he investigated in this playthrough. So it's probably just a matter of budget they had to write around it. But
Yeah, I kind of like it. I think it's fun.
I think it's kind of an interesting way of doing things, because it's like, if you investigated somebody and instead of getting a key that you just use later in another place, you're just told, I investigated this character and he came up as a werewolf, then that kind of gives away like a bunch of stuff. It makes the reading not as much fun, I guess.
Yeah, it just makes it so that if you investigate, for example, Takumi, and then later there's a choice where that requires you to know that Takumi is human. And if you don't choose that option, even though you have the key, then the narration just straight up says, I don't know that Takumi is a human or not, even though he actually does.
Yeah. I do think it's creative on like why Haruaki does not explicitly say, oh, this person is a werewolf if you did find them immediately. They do some, I think at least a little clever writing of why he does not immediately reveal that.
And also, you just get in the English version of the game, like you just get the characters for the result, and there's no like subtitle or anything like that. So
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it shows you the I guess hiragana for it. You have to look at the key actually to see what the role is.
yeah, so I also was like, wait, what does this mean? I mean, I like the one for human, I was probably like, oh, this probably means human because it's just one, you know? But I did like want to look at the other ones to like make sure that I was like looking at it.
But it's in hiragana, so yeah.
I didn't even process that. I was like, oh, look, it's a scribble.
I thought it was that's how you write the characters' names that he's putting under his thing until I saw I picked another one and that was
it was the same one, yeah.
I honestly kind of thought that too.
I mean, well, you wouldn't know, right? Like, you know, it's not like immediately apparent it's Japanese because it's like a little stylized. It's written in like blood or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't even make that for whatever. Yeah,
I mean, you can read hiragana, so you probably just didn't.
But you know what was stupid? Like, I feel like an idiot though, is because I read it in Japanese and I was like, Hito, okay, person, and I didn't even like think anything of that it was in Japanese and not English. It's just like, all right, anyway.
Yeah, there's no subtitle. Yeah, it was funny.
I was like, yeah, now that you mention it, that is pretty lazy of them. Anyway,
it just took me a minute. Like, I was like, oh, of course this means human. Like, I don't know what it says, but of course that's what it means. It was just like a funny moment of like, you didn't tell me anything.
You can look at the key list and then it just written in English.
I should say we should probably keep going with the Feast 1. We're only on Feast 1 still, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah. It's like 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure people know what we're
So
talking.
it goes to a tie vote. And before we go off of the Feast 1, I just want to say that there's this line that Haruaki says where he's thinking about how the votes need to go certain ways to get like the tie vote where nobody dies. And he has this line where it's like, honestly, I just want to exploit this loophole. And that shit happens on my tables all the time. It's like, well, I could just, hold the game up and do this and that to reach this dead end because it's fun.
But you do anonymous voting, so it's harder to do that.
We do anonymous voting, yeah. But even then, people will still try to do it. Like, they will try to reach battle ballots in some cases.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you should do not anonymous voting and see what happens.
We could try.
Because, order matters a lot in this, and, like, the last person feels like they have a lot more responsibility. I think it's interesting that it goes from oldest to youngest in that regard, top hierarchy to low hierarchy, because it means that Haruaki and Mamiya are...
It means the youngest is the killer.
They feel so responsible for the decision that was made because they know everybody's votes.
They also have more power because of this. They know who will get chosen if they vote for anything.
We do have some people on the table that even though it's anonymous voting, if they know that they're the last vote, they still have a hard time with that because they are the deciding vote.
Anyway, so yeah, so it's a tie. They don't kill anyone. And after the feast is over, like now, everyone wants to talk to Haruaki now.
Yeah, just all at once.
And Takumi warns him, like anything he says, like word will get around. So basically, he shouldn't assume that he is having any private conversations. And that works out in various ways. So it's worked out in various ways so far too. But so now also in this route, they all stay together in the dining hall while Kanzo is like, I'm gonna go look around because he's a monkey, so I guess it's okay. And everybody else is all in the dining hall together.
He basically threatens them, like, no one go out because if I see anyone outside, I'm going to shoot them.
Yeah. And also we learn, so they're just chatting in the dining hall, and we learn that Chiemi's major is linguistic anthropology. I thought that was nice. And then Yasunaga.
Not if you want a job.
Yasunaga, the other monkey, says like, Haruaki, let's have a private conversation, and which is a suspicious thing to do, and like maybe not a good idea. They go back and forth. Haruaki goes like back and forth on being like, really, it's not a good idea to have a private conversation, and they don't know if it's private or not. And Yasunaga is like, who do you suspect? And he won't give away his role, but he kind of like says it without saying it, that he has a guardian. He communicates, I think, implicitly to Yasunaga that he has a guardian.
Yeah, he does say, though, who we think is definitely not a wolf. And he says it's Chiemi, Meiko, and Rikako.
Yeah.
And Chiemi, it's because she, at the feast, we didn't go into it, but the feast, she offered to sacrifice herself.
Yeah, she was like, I'll go first, instead of like killing the outsiders. Yeah.
And Rikako and Meiko, it's because something Rikako said in the feast. She told him to choose her instead of Meiko, just keep Meiko alive. So he suspects something about that, and the reader doesn't get to know what he suspects yet.
Rikako also goes really hard about being like, please, like, kill me, like I'll take it, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Rikako is very obviously protecting Meiko.
A wolf.
So they have their meeting, and then they're like, okay, no more private meetings though after this one. And
we had ours, so no one else gets to have any.
Yeah, then we have the big breakdown where Haruaki talks to Mamiya about her previous occult work, and she talks about it in front of everyone in the dining hall, and she's like, "Is this okay? Like, no offense?" And they're all like, "Sure, whatever."
This is where I want to go into my translation rant a little bit.
I was thinking this is where we're coming to.
Because this I have some issues with the translation of this game, because I read it in Japanese and then I'm reading it in English. After that, it's a very technical translation. I think it doesn't work very well at some points. I think it's mostly because they didn't have time to polish it. But in cases like this, where they are talking a lot about Japanese mythology and some Japanese wordplay that's going on, they just do it straight. They say, oh, in Japanese this means that, and that kanji means that, and if you put the kanji here, then you can do that. And do any of you actually get what they're saying, or is it just like...
No.
I guess not. I didn't write it in my notes, so...
Then later on in the game, there's even like deeper kanji wordplay going on that is the kind of thing that if you actually know Japanese, something you can notice and figure out ahead of time. And you obviously don't get to, because they're not doing any of that. They just... I'm pretty sure when they explain that, they will just say, okay, in kanji, you can put that kanji over here and then it means something else.
Is this related to how they say that, like, Okami could technically mean great god?
It has something to do with that, but it's deeper than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the second thing I have, I think the characters, that doesn't sound right to me in the translation. They have very unique voices in Japanese. Like every character speaks a little differently, and it's very good characterization going on. And I think it doesn't really work in English a lot of the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say their dialogue is like super different. Like, I mean, like Kanzo's is, because he has a lot of like apostrophes in his speech and stuff. But like, you know, Haruaki and Yasunaga and Mamiya, they all have the same dialogue, like in terms of how it's written.
Then you have the poem. The poem they sing is written in like all Japanese that's kind of creepy, and in English it just reads straight. It's like it doesn't have the same feeling at all. And the poem is very important.
Yeah, they did not like make it sound like Old Englishy or something. Yeah.
Oh, I do. I think I remember. Yeah, specifically, they were talking about some wordplay with the poem about how it ends.
Yeah. So the poem. In English, they put numbers in front of every line. In Japanese, what's going on though is like number wordplay. You know how in Japanese you can substitute numbers into like different syllables.
Don't explain it, because we've explained it in a previous season, and that's your fault, listener, for not listening to it.
Yeah. So in Japanese, the poem, the numbers are incorporated into the words, into the first word of every line. Mm-hmm. And I didn't notice that at first until they pointed it out. And then you get to the last number, which is To, which is, in this case, it's Kiri, which comes from the word from Christianity. So they figure out from that word was, that the poem was written after Christianity was introduced into Japan, which places it at a very specific time period. There's a whole lot of things going on there.
Oh, that's why they talk about that. Because, yeah, in English, it's just like, why are you talking about that? They're just like, did you know?
Yeah, it just comes off as like weird trivia.
No, but what they're doing is trying to figure out when this poem was written, because they say it's very, very old, but Christianity only came to Japan, I think, in the 17th century? I'm not up to date on my Japanese history. I used to know this.
Well, in Neo, there is a Christian samurai, so I think you're about, and that's in 16th century. So
yeah, I used to know this. I don't remember it right now.
I just told you.
Yeah,
16th century.
And like the importance of trying to date this for them is they want to determine, is this like some ancient ritual that's stuck around, or is this sort of like incorporating more modern stuff? And this is, i.e. an invention of the people who live here.
Because Mamiya, she even says some stuff about like how, this could have sort of be just like a game of telephone almost, like these legends started as just a bunch of people killed a really big wolf one day, and
so do you think this is a The Village situation? M. Night Shyamalan's The Village?
Yes.
I do too. Especially because they're like, she says it's unusual for humans to be able to kill gods in these types of stories, which is super true, like across many things. And then she also says, like, not only did it's like, maybe it's about killing a large wolf, but she says it's probably about killing a tyrannical lord, which I think this is all lining up where my theory is that it was just an argument between the heads of the houses. Like, there were originally 5, and maybe like the 5th one was the cops, which is why they have cops in the town from like out of town now. And they were like the police force, and they killed them.
She also says that like wolves as bad guys is much more a European thing than Japanese thing, because in Europe they had cattle to protect, so wolves were usually portrayed as evil characters. Yeah. In Japan they didn't.
Yeah, but none of this really explains why people are turning into goo and falling apart.
No, it's really not.
Or the looping itself.
Well, that's the acidic mist that once you inhale it, it combines with the shishinari that you eat, and in time...
Oh, there was a chemical reason the entire time. Okay.
Let me tell you about a movie called Cube. Okay, all right, but
I was legitimately like, after Oren mentioned like there was probably some latent bullshit that was happening explaining, I was like, how could they possibly explain this like logically? And so that was what I came up with, some chemical reaction within the mist and the food you eat.
It was just old man Williker in a mask the whole time.
Yeah, that would suck too.
Yeah, nanomachines. It was just nanomachines. Lots of them.
Yeah, that works. Why
A
not?
bunch of them.
But the idea of them like outing like killing another family makes sense in the sense that like Rikako was the last Uematsu, and they sent her, and I guess she exiled herself there, but like this whatever machination, like the idea of taking out one of the leading families is very possible, right? Like if Rikako dies, there's no more Uematsus. But I'm also intrigued by the okami and the fact that the word for is okami and it contains the word kami, and like they sort of, even in English, like there's sort of this idea of like what if also the wolves are the Great Lord Shinai actually, and it was like the families in Kami Fujiyoshi that rebelled against Shinai, and like it's Shinai trying to attack them or something. I don't know. I haven't done the next reading yet because I am tired of reading ahead. There's an idea there too, but where like they're being punished by the god of the mountain, and they make these people like defend against it or something, but it's really their problem. And then that would line up with what Rikako keeps saying about how like, Kami Fujiyoshi depends on Yasumizu and like, like that kind of thing.
We also go into a long discussion about Japanese mythology and the Yomi and where that comes from and how it all ties out with Orochi and Izanagi and Izanami and names from Persona.
Yes.
If you played Persona 4.
And they talk about Nei no Kuni, which is a different video game that we also know about.
It was a lot of video game names.
Let's see. He also notes that the song or the poem about the rules of the feast doesn't mention wolves of any kind.
Oh, but it does mention a badger.
And he finally asked about the badger. Yes.
They finally addressed the badger, and no one seems to have even thought about it before.
They're all just sort of like, oh yeah, that is weird, huh?
It's like, really, guys? Really? Oh, the song has a badger in it. It must not be anything.
So the badger's the traitor class.
Honestly, I'm intrigued by this because there is no kind of... Well, actually, no, there is an equivalent of this. It's basically the despair showing hope. But in this case, it's someone who actually, at least temporarily or maybe permanently, wants to align themselves with the wolves. So it's like having them there means that the wolves have to actually be careful about who they kill because somebody there is actually on their side, but they don't know it.
Yeah. In actual Werewolf, this role wins by when the werewolf wins, regardless whether or not they died.
Yeah. The wolves still want to kill them. They're still human.
Yeah.
They're just going to help the wolves if they can.
Well, they want to kill them last. Like, hitting them is going to mean that they don't have like an accomplice.
Yeah, and then the important note is that somebody says that Gen knew about the badger and like that maybe the badger was a role, and then Haruaki's like, well, if Gen knew about the badger role, or there's like a sculpture somewhere or something like that. But if Gen knew about the badger role, then that means that the wolves must have won 8 years ago, or in the one that he participated in, which is this. Which would be the same one as Kanzo and the old man who cried wolf. So that means they must have been the wolves in order to know about the badger, because the humans would not know about that. So yeah. So we do have that, like, for sure. Although Haruaki doesn't like focus on it as much as I did when I noted that down. Then after dinner, Yoshi is back. Yoshitsugu asks Haruaki that she's like, that tonight, let's go kill him.
There's also a choice right here that you can make that the second choice is locked. And we don't actually get back to that in this route.
No, it's key 20 or something. It's later.
Yeah. What's the choice? I don't even remember this.
It's like Is it even an option, or is it just like grayed out and then the other one is?
Yeah, it's grayed out. You can only choose one option.
okay.
But it is over there.
Yeah, it's just like it just says key 20, and then the other one just says continue or keep going or something.
I just know that you don't actually get to choose that. You don't get key 20 in this route, and the other route is an entire different route. So at some point we're going to go back into these routes and do other things.
Dun dun dun. Yeah. So then Yoshitsugu is like, let's go out and kill all the wolves tonight. Let's go fight them. And so that basically explains how he died last time, is that he wanted to go out and fight the wolves.
He's basically like, yeah, they're still people. I mean, they bleed. So let's kill them before they kill us. Why not?
And Haruaki is like, he knows from the previous route, okay, if you do this, you're going to die. So he has to try to convince him to not do it in a way that is going to work. And he decides that the strategy that he's going to use is to joke that he's going to date his mom if he dies.
I love this. I love this because this goes beyond him having prior knowledge. It's like it goes beyond whatever anybody's roles are. He knows that if Yoshi dies, Kaori is going to be useless. So
I just want to jump in. The reason. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I didn't realize I thought you were done speaking. Sorry. No, the reason we don't remember it's because the choice is keep passing time or the locked option, which is 20.
Oh, okay.
So it's like that meant it was pointless to think about it now. The thing I did, he was thinking like it's pointless to think about the badger, so I should just keep passing time or whatever. So.
But yeah, Yoshi has some amazing voice lines right here, because he just starts blathering nonsense essentially.
Mm-hmm. Like, I love this. Yoshi has been proven to be completely useless in the trials, but we still need to have him around because if he dies, Kaori's going to be useless.
Mm-hmm. And then he ends his little tirade by Haruaki says like, kind of finally, he was like I already tried it and it doesn't work, and that was a mistake to say that out loud.
Yeah,
because everyone was listening.
Yeah, as we were around, people listen when you talk.
Yeah, holy crap! Everyone was listening.
Yeah,
the mist is thick.
So the next scene is so he just keeps people just keep coming up and talking to him just one at a time, in a row, as he is trying to go home. And next is Rikako. She's following him and she trips. Classic Rikako. And she heard him say, she's like, I heard you say that you already tried it. And she thinks that he has been sent here to dispel the mist. She thinks he's somebody very important. So she's catching on. And that also would imply that she herself is not looping, but may be aware, have heard some legends of this ability to loop.
Yeah, some supernatural.
The hero who can try again.
The hero who's just really good at Werewolf.
The idiot allowed to redo their mistakes.
Yeah.
The save scummer.
Yeah, actually the hero who's really bad at Werewolf and needs multiple attempts at it.
Yeah.
But the same game, actually.
I want a do-over.
Captain Do-Over, the ultimate superhero.
Amazing.
It's the most amazing superhero. He has no powers, he just does it over until he wins.
Life is strange.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And so Rikako,
Steins Gate.
she wants to shake hands, but then she can't bring herself to do it because she's so embarrassed by having a crush on Haruaki. And Sloweave is gone. I'm glad we have video for this. An intellectual drink for the chosen ones.
Alright, I'm sorry.
Anyway, so whatever. Rikako has a crush on us. Time to use the snake powers. Snake powers. Snake powers.
Snake power, activate.
Yeah, we got 3 choices. We got Takumi, which is the first one. Nosato, I always forget his first name. And then the
Kiyonosuke.
reporter Mamiya. Yeah, Kiyonosuke.
Oh, and he also, Haruaki, as he's thinking about who to pick, he also says oh, I think that Mako is the spider, which is why Rikiko said vote for her and not Mako.
Yeah.
So we know that at that point.
Yeah, he's got some pretty good reasoning of why Mako would be the spider. And he comes up with some really good reasonings for a lot of why, these people can be, 99.9 whatever percent assumed human.
Like, that's an interesting dynamic, too, where the protection role this time is somebody that really doesn't know how the game works and really isn't useful in the trials. So they are only effective if they have somebody else telling them what to do.
Yep. As soon as they lose that protection, they become far less useful to all the humans.
Mm-hmm. So the first person you investigate is Takumi. You get his key and he's human. Yay!
Yeah, do we just want to reveal what all these people were?
Okay,
sure.
Go ahead.
Takumi's human, Kinosuke is human, Mamiya is a wolf.
Yeah, which we actually find out like either way whether we.
Yeah, that you'll know that immediately because she claims Snake like the first thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of thought that she wasn't a wolf.
Well, the first feast, she hadn't checked her stomach to see if she was anything, or so she claimed, which I kind of believe because of how quickly she turns it around. Like the next day, if she was lying about that before, then that would imply she would have been more composed the second day. So I don't think she was lying. I think she just honestly didn't check.
Yeah, so I thought that she wasn't a wolf because I thought that she was just like a regular person and that the wolves came to her and said, you need to do this. I thought she was just doing whatever she was told to do to survive. Not even the badger, just like the wolf telling her, if you say this in the trial, then you'll survive. Yeah,
that was a pretty big red flag. And actually, this was like, I was saying at the beginning, I had this habit of trying to figure out what I would do in this scenario and who I think is the wolves and all like that. She is actually probably the biggest wild card in this scenario, even more than the old man who just says nonsense, because she doesn't buy into what all this is. I mean, to her perspective, this is pretty much just a horror film. She just walked into a random village and they're all voting to kill random people and her only partner is gone.
Right. It's likely that she didn't even do the first kill or do the first attack.
So whatever logic she has is like, you can't really trust it because she's not thinking about it in the same way that everyone else is in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she doesn't believe any of this is real.
Basically, she's the person on the werewolf team that the other werewolves don't want on their team because they don't know how to play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I investigated her the first night.
And she appeared on Despair.
Yeah, even if you were to do it out of order, you still know the path. Like, you can still look at the, but yeah, so it doesn't really affect anything because, it's not like if you investigate Mamiya, then he like wakes up the next morning and it's like, okay, like she's the wolf. Like it only comes down to choices that you make later on.
Did we go over the choice that we have to make when we're voting? Or did we not reach that point yet?
On the first vote?
Oh, no, that's the second feast.
It's the second vote,
one.
yeah, where we choose between Takumi and Mamiya. So we wake up the next day and nobody died. That means that so some people like Takumi is like, oh, that means the wolves don't want to kill anyone.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like, no, idiot. It means that the spider protected the right person.
Yeah, I think Misato says it right away.
Yeah. So there's not much lead up. They just like kind of go right to the feast. And Chiami's like, Takumi, if you talk like that, like, then it looks suspicious. It looks like you're a wolf. And he's like, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry for my wolf-like tendencies.
Wild card. Mamiya claims that she's the snake. Right a fucking way. We've heard this line 1,000 times. Classic Dangan werewolf moment. Immediately claiming.
I am the alter ego. Yeah. And actually, this leads into a choice that I wasn't expecting. You can either counterclaim or you can say nothing. And I had to honestly think about this one because it seemed like counterclaiming would be the correct choice, except for this was the first it's really early, so you probably don't want to come out because this was a trap to rout out the actual snake.
if you counterclaim, then the rest of them have to kill one of you.
Well, I think, don't they choose to do neither of those?
Oh yeah, actually, maybe you're right.
Yeah, they choose to do neither of those because it's safer to choose somebody else. But yeah, you go to sleep and you just don't wake up.
Yeah, there's the other aspect of like in a normal game of Werewolf, you probably should claim, but then you die, and when you were actually putting your life on the line for it, it's a little bit different. But I will also say when you, at least from my experience playing Werewolf, I fake claim detective all the time, no matter what side I'm on, and so rarely do you get counterclaimed because the other detective always wants to just be like, all right, let's see where this is going.
In this specific situation, not counterclaiming would basically let them have free reign of that trial, but also if they were, depending on what happens the next day, if they were still alive or if some other stuff happened, then it could route out the werewolf.
Maybe we should go into like what actually happens and stuff before we get too into the strategy, because it's like
sorry, it's just I enjoy how much is focused on the strategy. Honestly, it's like a big part of this game.
Yeah, well, maybe as a rule though, like we should get through the feast and then talk about the
we should do that at
stuff.
The end,
because
and Haruaki also isn't sure that Mamiya is a wolf at this point. Like, he's not sure why she's making this claim. Like, she could be a badger or she could be losing it, right? Like, he doesn't know. She could be trying to protect herself because she's like having a breakdown. So so he doesn't necessarily want her to be killed by counterclaiming her as well. But yeah, if you choose to out yourself, then you lose, you die.
Yeah, that's why the writing is a little weird. If you did investigate her the night before, it's still written as if he doesn't like. They try to write it as if it doesn't matter what you chose the night before. And it's a little strange if you did Mamiya.
And in the bad ending, they vote for Nosato. They vote for Kyunosuke, and then Haruaki gets killed by the wolves. So the right answer is to not reveal your role, and Haruaki like immediately like the thing is like they're like, okay, whether she's a wolf or a badger, like the wolves, and we know she's a wolf, so the other wolves basically probably pressured her to do this because she was not useful to them. Like, they didn't want her on their team anyway, so they pressured her to do this to draw out the real snake, to get the real snake to say, I'm the snake, and then they would know who the snake was. And then when they're like, well, who did you investigate? She says, I investigated Tae, and she's a wolf. And since they don't know who to believe, and Tae's like, no, I'm not a wolf. Kanzo's like, well, I think we should adhere to tradition and we should kill both of them. And the voting goes around, and then we have a choice. And the choice is to vote for Takumi, or vote for Mamiya, and so basically to either kill Mamiya now or not do that, which means that Tae is killed.
The incorrect choice is to kill Mamiya.
Right.
It is actually a pretty horrifying ending, and sort of solidifies what I was saying before. Of like she's pretty much in a horror movie.
Yeah. Because
she just gets voted to death by some random group of villagers that she just wanted to investigate.
Yeah, and she tries to resist, as opposed to like pretty much everyone else who's chosen doesn't resist, but she does.
Yeah.
And they have to like pin her down and take her by force to the hanging tree.
Yeah.
It's like Midsummer or something.
Yeah, and everyone sings while they're about to hang her. And, yeah. Creepy.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not the bees! Not the bees!
Yeah.
So the correct answer is to vote for Takumi.
Which means Tai dies, and Haruki knows that Tai is probably not a wolf, but he still, like, consciously votes for someone that would make her die. Kill her.
Yeah. And he does this to sort of make Takumi come to a realization of some sort that he needs to take this a little more seriously.
Yeah. And like there's other, he's in this position where like these are the two candidates that they all voted for, right? Like he can't adjust the timeline enough to get it so that there's another option.
Right.
But it was interesting though. If I don't know because I haven't finished this loop yet. But if Tai was one of the wolves, wouldn't that be funny that she's just always the wolf? Then it's still like it might make sense because Mamiya then like said it to her because she's like mad that the other wolves pressured her to do this. She just like disrupts everything. That would probably be too easy though.
That'd be good though, like infighting among wolves.
Yeah, especially like if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be her.
Yeah, because fuck these laws.
Yeah. And so they hang tight and as they say goodbye to her and they say, "Rise not." And she says, "Rise not." And then she dies. And on the way back from that ceremony, everybody is really depressed. Everybody looks like a husk. And Haruaki wonders if this state of being is the real problem, that all the Yomibito are just depressed.
This is the real werewolf. Mental illness.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's an episode title right
Yeah. Then back in the dining hall, Mochi starts to like pop off about who he suspects, and Kanzo slaps him. And the old man who cried wolf like breaks his fall, and it's like establishing that they're still friends in this timeline. Maybe foreshadowing.
I feel like those two could be on different sides and know it and not even give a crap.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we already knew they were friends, so like them being on the same side in this, it's not. Yeah. It doesn't give very much away or anything like that because they already spent a bunch of time together.
Right.
Then the Oribe family goes off and talks together privately. When we're not supposed to be doing this. And the others are like, "Oh, do we want to like listen in?" And Haruaki's like, "No, don't listen in." And then it's like Chiemi and Rikako have like another like, we're fighting over Haruaki, and like Chiemi makes a comment about like Haruaki's girlfriend or something like that like she shouldn't know in this timeline.
Yeah, like we know you're running from something, from a past
Girl
with
troubles.
a woman or something. Yeah, girl troubles. Yep.
Yeah, which she shouldn't know from this timeline.
So I was thinking when they said that it was part of the rumors of Haruaki said like everything fell apart about his life and that's why he came here. That was sort of how I read it, but it's yeah. It could also be a wink wink to you, the audience.
Yeah. I didn't even write this down in this notes because I'm just tired of it. Like, we're on the Rikako route. I get it. Fine. Then
obvious.
Kyonosuke takes Haruaki aside and he's like, "Look, like Kanzo said to look out for Takumi because he might snap." So this is like going into, Takumi and Takumi leaves. Like, he's not there. He goes and nobody knows where he is.
Takumi was apparently really attached to Tai.
Yeah.
Which we didn't know before.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah.
I think they say she like raised him or something like that.
It was like a grandmother kind of thing, if I remember.
Yeah. So I wonder how Takumi ended up in Yasumizu. Then when the Oribe family returns, and it was like Yasu like asked Yoshi like, "Let's go talk," and then Kaori was like, "I'm gonna come too," and Haruaki suspects that Yasunaga was scolding Yoshitsugu for making himself suspicious during the feast because he was like popping off
as he was being Yoshi.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that was probably the least suspicious thing he could do as Yoshitsugu is to be an asshole.
Yeah. And so then after dinner, Haruaki walks outside. Everyone wants to talk to him. And so all the students are there. And Yasunaga says that Yoshitsugu told him about everything that he said to him yesterday about fucking his mom. And and he's like, "Oops." And then
he has a really good line here of like, "Oh, you heard that? Excuse me while I bash my head against this rock," or something along those lines.
Yeah. And you think he's gonna ask about So the person that ends up asking, though, is like, they're like, haha, I know you were being facetious, and they start to leave, but Haru doesn't leave. And Haru says, what did you mean by, I already tried it? And, and then Haru goes into her fugue state, whatever. She switches her personalities, and,
She turns the echo on in her voice curse.
She turns her voice filter on.
Yeah. And she says, I see, so you rose. You have tried again several times, have you not? So the ghost that's possessing Haru knows that we can loop. And then she comes out of it and she just forgets what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Yasunaga and Mochi are also there, and they seem to know what's going on and take her away.
And they say, like, this is our problem. It has nothing to, not yours. Like, it has nothing to do with what's going on right now. And we learn later, then, like, immediately, really, but, like, the next scene, we learn from Rikako, and that people believe that Haru was possessed by the Okami during the last feast.
Because she, like, wandered into, like, the middle of the feast. It had already started, and she came from outside in.
Yeah, and because her parents were in there.
Yeah, and most people think it's like she had a mental illness or some kind, or traumatized by it.
Yeah. Oh, and like the whole village, like Kami Fujiyoshi, like as a whole, like tried to be like, oh, she's just traumatized, but then she got better. It's fine. Like she's not possessed. But she has continued to exhibit signs of possessions.
That's just women problems.
So her still having these episodes now, like, speaks to, I mean, I don't know, right? Because the girl's traumatized. Like, but it does seem that she is legitimately possessed also.
What I got from it is that she was in a really bad state. She was like that all the time for a while. And then she didn't have those episodes for, when the game starts, she didn't have these episodes for a while now. So they think she's cured.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's an alternate explanation, possibly. She can loop too, and she is looped so much that she has broken mentally and has given up and doesn't loop anymore.
Oh, because she couldn't save her parents?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we did have that theory that everyone is looping in the game.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of backed up by the way they defend her. When they're like, oh, this isn't part of what we're doing. But it seems like it's more a big picture of, oh, we're all looping and this isn't part of the loop.
Yeah. This isn't a choice. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Haru herself doesn't seem to know what she was saying when she was in that state. I mean, she comes out of it and she doesn't remember.
Right.
Yeah.
So she may no longer know that she's looping.
Yeah, because she just can't take it anymore.
Here's my guess. Gen is one possessing her. I have nothing to base this on, but we've established this Gen guy for some reason.
Gengar?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A ghost.
Yeah.
Rikako also says that the Uematsu family was supposed to have cured Haru of the corruption of being possessed, but obviously that did not actually happen. Then Rikako, then she confesses to Haruaki, and it's really.
I like that voice line. It's so stupid. I love it.
It's so stupid. And she like offers to help him escape using her, like, I guess using her influence as a department head. And she, and like romantic music is playing in the background too. And he's like, his internal monologue is like, oh, I can't help it. I have to. And he like says like, no, like you need to stay alive for me and I need to stay alive for you. Promise me that after this we'll finally be together after we survive all of this. And then he hugs her.
Seems to have gotten over Chiemi pretty quickly.
Absolutely a horrible man.
Chihu?
She does it. He does say a couple of times how it looks like easy mode with Rikako.
Yeah, and he's like, but then, like, I thought he's just playing around for sure, because he likes her reaction and none of this matters anymore. But he also says, like, while he's hugging her, he's like, she was so cute. Like, I wanted to, like, take her right here and now, which was, such a weird fucking translation.
He also calls her tasty.
Yeah, he does.
I kind of attribute this more to the writing than Haruaki himself, you know? I don't know. It's like...
He always seems like he's saying stuff tongue-in-cheek. None of it feels like it matters.
Yeah.
He has two modes. He's got, like, super serious, like, deduction, logic, reasoning mode and explaining things to people, and then the other mode where he's just kind of fucking around.
He's a little werewolf pervert.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
He's just a little too genre savvy. But he's also been looping and everything, which is going to desensitize him for sure. But just the whole, like, she's so cute. I wish I could have sex with her right now. It's like such a... It's just not a line that works in American English.
Well, you know what the thing is, too, is that we've established he has a really low tolerance for time looping. Where, like, with the cop and he, like, loops twice, he's like, I can't take it, I'm snapped. And it's like,
I know, it's like he breaks super easily.
So it's like, loop 2 is like, well, I'm in a consequence-free environment and nothing matters. All right, Rikaku, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how he's acting with her, especially.
Yeah, if it was Groundhog Day in, like, day 2, he would have been like, fuck this, nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then it's the next night, and you have the same choices as before, but now Mochi and Haru have been added, so
do we want to go into that, or some people didn't actually choose any of the other choices, right, and don't know yet, right?
Yeah, we can save that for later for those that haven't read.
Yeah, so let's not speak about Mochi and Haru right now.
Okay, so you get so at this point you at least know that Takumi and Kinosuke are human.
Yeah, if you're reading from top to bottom, then yeah, you know about.
Mm-hmm.
So I should say too in our chat, like we said, like I thought we said at one point, like we're gonna like all choose the first option, and the first option is Takumi again, which I was like, I don't want to pick Takumi again. And Oren did say like, well, there's one choice that's obvious, but I'm like, all right, what the hell? And I picked Takumi again, which is a complete waste of a vote, of a move, and I totally regret it still, and it's awful. But at least I know like being a snake works, I guess. So I've confirmed that for all of you.
I'm surprised the game doesn't say anything.
Not really. Like, he kind of justifies it in his head where he's like, I kind of want to know what's going to happen or if it's consistent between like, you know what I mean? So I guess in the loop sense,
just making sure my snake powers still work.
Yeah, no, it comes across kind of dumb. Maybe he's just testing like that. At least the loop he's in isn't going to change, you know, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Anyway, Takumi is still a human.
I mean, some versions of Werewolf will be like, here's a special role that, you know, hides what someone's actual identity is, and they can run that every night.
It's
I
true.
doubt that's what the Badger or any other secret role that they add actually does, but
sure.
Mm-hmm. So the next morning, when we wake up, we go outside, or we open the door, and Takumi is waiting for us. So Takumi comes into Haruaki's house and pushes him to the ground. He says, 2 died last night. Oh no. And he starts to threaten Haruaki. He's like, Takumi basically snapped, and he is like, why did you vote for me? Like, and therefore condemn Tae to die. And we have another choice. This choice is like we didn't really need this choice, but like it's a choice of whether or not you out yourself as the snake to him. If you don't, you immediately die.
Well, this choice is locked if you don't know that Takumi is human, so.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes. So you had to have investigated him to know that he's human so that you could trust him to admit your role. And so he admits to Takumi that he's the snake, and he explains the whole deal. He says, I think that the wolves sacrificed Mamiya to try to kill the real snake, which is why I didn't out myself. And, but then he's like, but then, and they go to investigate the 2 people who died, and one of the people who died is Mamiya.
But she was brutalized, like from the corruption.
She broke the rules.
Right. And this is why I'm thinking she might not have actually been a wolf. I mean, if we find out that she was a wolf, then she was a wolf. But, like, what rule could she have broken?
Maybe she was a wolf, but she didn't want to kill anyone because she doesn't believe any of that.
Yeah. And she died right outside of where she was staying. So, like, that would... she's like, the body's like right outside the dorms, like on the stairs or something. So that's like, maybe she just, I don't know. It's like, because the wolves can move around at night. So like, what did she do that broke the rules?
What about this? What if she tried to kill the person who was protected by the spider? The previous night, a different wolf who knows about the spider's role knew not to attempt that, but she did. And then that's what killed her. I can't buy into she didn't kill anyone because she's like pretending to be a snake and condemning other people to die. Mm-hmm. You know, so like unless there's something where it's like I just couldn't do it myself as the wolf, but I was willing to lie and do all this other stuff.
Is it possible that like she had the intention to like flee the village and like having that intention is enough?
Could she have tried to kill the other wolves?
Well, is there a rule that says you can't kill a wolf?
I mean, I'm just saying pretending to be a snake's a big move. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not into this, like, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, if you're pretending to be a snake, you have to name someone. If you have to name someone, that someone's going to die or has a very good chance of dying.
Or the other wolves tricked her that this was actually a game of werewolf, and then she saw Tag get hanged and goes, oh, shit, we're playing for real. Now I won't do it. No. All right.
Well, no, she saw her partner die first. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. So. Got it.
Well, that was just an accident.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I wanted to go back to that because when her partner died, she went for his camera for whatever reason. That plot point was never resolved. If she was a werewolf, she would have been...
No, they said it didn't work. They tried to recover the stuff and it wouldn't work.
She said it didn't work, but maybe she was lying.
Oh.
Right. So... I think the reason that she might have went for that camera is because she was able to be out at night. He wasn't. She saw him and maybe saw him get brutalized or whatever and went for the camera because it would have, maybe he took a photo of like the monster or her or whatever.
Oh, and she was out because she was a wolf. And then she only realized it later when she saw her role that the reason she was able to walk around at night was because she was a wolf. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, imagine that. Imagine her going to her partner's place because, you know, for whatever reason that night. She's allowed to be out at night. He isn't. She draws him out and he gets turned into goo.
Yeah. And
she doesn't know why.
Yeah. The other person who died is Haru. And Haru...
Haru was definitely killed by a human, though.
Yeah, Haru, like, everybody's worried that Kanzo's gonna freak out, so they're trying to figure out where he is. Haru is, like, her body is, like, mutilated except for her head, basically, so it basically is, like, very clear that it's her. And Haruaki's like, these wolves are more fucked up than the wolves of the last round.
Yeah. Because, like, she was beaten flat from the neck down.
It's like, wasn't she in her bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so they just left her head above the covers and then just beat the shit out of her body under the covers.
Yikes.
And that really, you know, to beat someone to death is not over quickly. And, like...
No.
That's what's kind of, like, I wonder if she was, like, was she conscious at the time? Like, it doesn't seem like it, but it's hard to...
Couldn't be, right?
It's hard to tell. But it just struck me as the sort of thing where, like, maybe she was not conscious while she was being killed.
Actually, if we look at the bad ending paths for us, I don't know if this is like a consistency thing or if it's just how they chose to do it, but we don't get to know how we died. We just don't wake up.
In our sleep, when we die in our sleep, there's like nothing. It's just, well, they got me in my sleep.
And if these werewolves are like the same kind of fucked up werewolves that did this, we can only imagine what they did to our body, but we don't know because we just never woke up.
Well, wait, the very first time when we broke the rules, right?
Right. We know when we break the rules. We don't know what happens when we just go to lay down, go to sleep, and then the wolves kill us.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody who died in the previous routes. Was there any sign of that they were like up and walking around? Like when Takumi was shot, was he I wasn't. I had thought that he was standing when he was shot, but I guess it's possible he wasn't. I don't know.
I mean, maybe the first loop doesn't really count, or because like there was that one where there was water on the floor, and that's never explained. Like it's like something that was pointed out. It's never explained. It's never a plot point. It's like, I don't know why they did that.
Hold on, wait. We only die to a wolf once this term, right? When we try to fuck with Mamiya, who's the snake, and all that.
Well, I did it out of order, and I had a couple bad deaths before I went back and did it right.
Yeah, you can die twice. You can die by counterclaiming, or you can die by voting for Mamiya, which tells all the wolves that they should vote. They should try to kill you.
I was just saying maybe it's the same wolf that kills you in this loop, and then this wolf is, I don't know, the tranquilizer wolf, the nice wolf. So I don't want to make him suffer. Wolf.
It's like the wolf coming in, make sure he does it humanely.
Yeah, look. We got a shooter wolf. We got a friggin' zombie walking around. Who the hell knows?
Then we got the Kevorkian wolf.
Oh, this raging loop.
It would just take so long to beat someone to death without damaging their head. It just doesn't seem like she was conscious for it. Anyway, so this was of course, like the perfect person to pick to kill to disrupt the two people that are sort of in charge, Kanzo and Yasunaga. Because, so that's probably why they killed her. And so Yasunaga's in shock. They're like, Kanzo, who even knows what he's going to do? He might go on like a murderous rampage. They look all around for him, and eventually they find him, and he's already in the dining hall waiting for the feast to start. And Takumi, having had his whole thing, comes in and confronts Kanzo, and we get an absolutely fantastic CG of
oh, that's right.
Takumi and Kanzo punching each other in the face at the same time.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
It's really good.
It's really good.
It's like a Sora's Wrath good.
And while they're doing that, Haruaki grabs Kanzo's gun and he gives it to Chiemi, who then disassembles it. And he's like, oops, I'm not supposed to know that Chiemi knows how to disassemble a gun, but it's probably fine. I mean, everybody here probably knows how to do that. So she goes to disassemble the gun, so nobody has a gun anymore. And then I guess he starts to think more like why, like what we already talked about of how did Mamiya die outside her room? How did she die due to corruption? And he's like, only wolves can move around at night, which proves that she was a wolf. But how did she die? Like, did she? I wonder if she like refused to participate, or would that kill you immediately? And then there's like a question of like, there's still a question of can you stay up all night or not? And there's been like conflicting reports because Haruaki was able to stay up all night in the original loop.
Right.
And everybody kind of talks about how they, and now in this so far, he has been sort of supernaturally falling asleep at night.
He's also eating the food now too.
Yeah. It's just like, it's confusing about whether it's possible for a non-wolf to stay up all night. And then the feast starts. Oh yeah, he also has a guardian this time, so maybe that is what makes you sort of supernaturally fall asleep.
Right. Maybe it's a situation where if you don't have a guardian, then it's like you can, because the guardians are the ones that have to do things at night, and the regular people aren't.
And he's not really involved in the feast the first time, right? So he doesn't attend to things, like they keep trying to force him out. It's also a question of like, what is a wolf? Like, is a wolf just a thing where you are designated wolf in this, in whatever's going on here, and then you're still the same person, but you're like, they're going to kill me unless I kill them. So to survive, I'm going to participate, even though I don't think any of this is right. I just don't want to die.
That's the implication, that wolves keep their personalities. And
right. Or it's that wolves are replacements who are just mimicking someone who...
I have to imagine... I'm really just guessing here, though, that some point late game, we're going to get a wolf roll as Haruaki, so we get that perspective.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I really hope so. Well, I mean, on the face of it, this is going to continue until, like, the wolves lose, right? Like, that's probably what the end of the game is. So it would make sense to do a loop with a wolf. I just hope we do.
Well, from a meta perspective, if you look at the ending screen, looks like there are 4 major routes in this game. and we're on the second one because there are 4 spaces for like big endings.
What if they completely rip off a V3 and it's just like, we're going to use our lives to end Raging Loop Saga?
I think that's what he would do if he was a wolf. But I mean, he would try to like, I guess, gather information if possible. But I mean, right away, he's got to try to resist it, right? And then we'll find out if that's how Mamiya died.
Oh, last route, he's a wolf, but he has to learn how to be a wolf and break the game. And breaking the game is what breaks the loop.
I was thinking the last route was going to be something like, oh, we transcend what this actual game is, and now we play a game of Werewolf with the literal guardians. We play Werewolf with God.
No, what he has to do, I think that's it. I think he has to make some kind of like stupid play and then ask the GM is like, well, in this situation, the rules say this, but actually, and then it's like
convinces everyone to vote for Shinai, and then they have to hang him.
Could God play a game of Werewolf so bad that even he lost?
Y'all ever play a game of Werewolf so bad you just went back to sleep?
A lot of good episode title candidates in this recording. Okay, so obviously in the next reading, figure like know all the like go, but you can go back and look at all the people and what are all their roles are. So for the future. Going in order doesn't mean go through all of the choices in order, which is what I thought it meant.
Yeah.
It is pick the first one on the list and keep going. Like, don't go back and don't go back.
Listen, you know what? I think the thing I have learned is that Visual Novel Book Club can't tame me, so whatever.
Yeah. I mean, do whatever, but we're going to talk about it as if those were the choices we made and not talk about the other things.
I think it's more fun to not know. Like, I wish I didn't know everything going into the last days.
But some of it is like you can see where
some of them
the
you're
deaths
forced
are
to
coming,
know, yeah.
and it's like, oh, I don't want to go through all these deaths just to move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta, it's funny too. I was thinking of like there's sort of a weird distinction in a way, like between like visual. Like I feel like in an adventure game or something that's a little more video gamey, I would have been really annoyed if I die outing myself as a snake, and then I like don't out myself as a snake and die anyway again, and it's like just kind of a doomed route. And because even Haruaki was like, I don't even know why I got killed that time, and we know the reason is because if you kill mommy, whatever. But like, I was just thinking the whole time, like, I would have been really pissed off if this were a game because I did the right thing, god damn it. But
yeah, they mentioned in the hints, they're like, you played it right, you just didn't know this thing going in.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny, like going back to like when you start going into the village and you're trying to figure out what the right thing to say the police is, and like he just gets he gets so frustrated.
Oh, and there was another thing with when he does out himself as a snake, he thinks like, well, Rikako is instructing Mako as the spider to protect someone, and she likes me, so she'll probably side with me, and then he dies anyway.
Yeah.
What's he got there? It's interesting too that I guess this is all just like a big sort of like game of Werewolf that's doubling as the Cassandra myth, because I feel like they kind of felt like, wow, Werewolf really is like that. The game itself, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also, if you're playing Werewolf and like you have figured it out and everybody else hasn't, like you could get yourself killed really easily by the other players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. It happens all the time on my tables. Like there are like some elements of, well, it's this player and this player usually lies, or just I love that so much attention is paid to like the strategy of Werewolf in general in this game.
It's a lot of fun. And because we get to know the characters over multiple loops, there's also that same element of when you play multiple times with the same group of people where you know, like, things, like, you know if one of your friends isn't acting the way they usually do.
Right, yeah. It's like, well, you're probably lying.
Yeah. I've tried so many strategies and I still lose. I still get killed every time.
You just need to get back on the table with new people.
Yeah, the new people that don't know who I am.
Yeah.
Or also just being a bad this bad liar. Like, which isn't a bad thing about being a person. Like, if you're just not a good liar.
It's true. Yasunaga gave me a lot of hope that I could be a wolf and like lie by omission the whole time.
Yasunaga was a very good wolf.
But when I'm never the murderer. But nobody believes me.
It does suck when you play so many times and you're like, oh, I finally got the wolf, and then the detective comes first night and you're like, yep, that person's a wolf. You're like, well, fuck.
Yeah. But I don't know. We developed a meta where I was very suspicious all the time because I kept playing Kokichi. But I was never actually the murderer.
That actually happened at like the actual werewolf that we did at MagFest that one year. Like, it was the Kokichi cosplayer who was like the alter ego and nobody believed her.
Yeah, it's great. It's good shit. You love to see it. But it's fun. And then I tried different strategies over time. Like, I was like, well, if they're not going to believe me, then I'm going to say the opposite of what I think they should do so that they'll do it. And like, stuff like that. It's fun. So next time, how far are we reading?
So my thought is that going to the very end of the route is probably too much. So I think we're going to go to, there's a bad ending at the end of the route that is mandatory. You get a key from it, and you'll know when you get it. It kind of feels like the end of the route, but there's still a little bit more after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to read until that point, and then the next time we're going to read the end of this route and the beginning of the next route.
Okay.
Right.
And so by the time we get to that bad ending, we can know all the information that we have access to in this route. So go back, click on everything.
This bad ending really is like, okay, the feast is over, everyone is dead, either dead or alive, but you still get like, well, every
it's no credits roll.
Yeah, no credits roll, and you get a key and you get to go to a previous choice.
What's the key number?
I don't remember, but you'll know when you get there. Trust me, you'll know.
Trust me.
It's a pretty definitive stopping point.
What if it said you're done reading visual novel book club's requirement?
Even if you read past it, we're just not going to talk about it in the episode. So
yeah,
it'll be fine.
This is like, if you continue past that, the actual ending of the road, the credits is like, what, 40 minutes later or something like that? 30, 40 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Probably about half an hour.
But it's pretty long to this point, so I think it will be too much to go to the actual ending of the road.
Yeah, because this was already kind of long, surprisingly long, because of all the theorizing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
I don't know who the third wolf is. I still don't. We'll see.
I don't know who the second wolf is.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. The ending of this route is pretty good. I really liked it.
All right.
I'm really interested also to see if we get a route where Chiemi is a wolf and Haruaki is not, and like he has to work against her, or vice versa.
I'm kind of suspicious of Chiemi because just by the virtue of
she's constantly suspicious.
Well, I'm suspicious of her in this route because now we're clinging to Rikako instead of her.
She dresses like a werewolf, even if this wasn't a game about werewolves.
Yeah, exactly. She's just constantly like, there's so many gags about her where she's like, is like a murderer. It's like joking that she's a murderer. Like she shows up covered in blood, she's like, oh, I was just cleaning these animals, stuff like that.
Silver really itches me.
So, yeah, I think the bigger thing is like the bigger story of like what's going on, like what's the big picture that's going on, and especially after Mamiya talks about the lore this time, it really feels like this is a more recent thing, and that we are perhaps in the M. Night Shyamalan's The Village situation.
Yeah, we have to end the loop, and ending the loop is probably more than just winning.
It's learning something about ourselves.
Mm-hmm. But like we can't, while we're in the mist, like we can't take any action against the people in Kamufujiyoshi, right? Like if it's their fault somehow. But I guess we can because we loop, right? Like, are there any unchosen choices before we get to Yasubizu?
I think on the original route there was.
Yeah, there definitely wasn't the original route.
I would tell you, except you have to look at Chemco, P-Cube, every time you start the damn game. Unity.
Made with Unity.
Well, also the professional edition lets you... Well, actually, I'm glad they don't do that, because that's annoying. Okay, so... Do you know about that whole thing where... Yeah, whatever, who cares?
Yes, I do.
We're going to edit this part out anyway.
No, that it's like... Unity like gets a bad rep because a lot of professional developers leave it in as like a courtesy, but the free version of Unity also like you can't take off the made with Unity part.
Yeah.
They might have changed it. So there's a lot of crap games out there that are like made in Unity. Whatever. Okay. Earliest lock in the game technically is number 4, which we've unlocked. I'm trying to find the earliest one we haven't unlocked yet, which is the one that's like, do you remember?
I think it's in the first night with Chiemi when you're drinking with her. There's a lock choice that we didn't.
That's loop 20, her objective, it looks like. Yeah, we're drinking with her, and it's like, we're not just messing around. Oh, and it's like, why did you invite me here?
Wait, and that's key 20?
Yeah, it's key 20.
It's also key 20 for the selection that we can't make this route.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this
Yeah.
feels like an ending run. It feels like we're going back to the beginning for an end run.
Maybe there's 20 keys. Maybe 20 is the maximum.
We have to get something from each route
Yeah.
and then bring that into the final battle.
And that's the true ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the earliest one, it looks like.
So there's no extra choices before we get to... So that means he never goes to Kami Fujiyoshi in the beginning and like disrupts something before the ceremony starts.
I mean, if that's actually the one. It's funny because she's all drunk and she's like, why do you think I brought you here? And key 20 must be like, to stop the game of werewolf that's happening to all of us. You've sobered me up. And then they kiss in the end. No.
Yeah, he's like, it's gonna happen and we have to stop it or whatever. Maybe.
Hmm.
And then obviously the choice with Yudai, where it's like you want to stay in my house, is like, yes, have him stay in your house and you stay in the prefab.
Yeah. Insist upon that somehow.
Yeah.
And you pee your pants, and then that saves him.
Or you pee in a bucket or something, but he has a real bathroom, so he's safe, and so he has to be alive.
I can tell you this is the choice for the next route. This is where the next route splits.
Ooh. Yeah, because in order to play it again, right, we need one more player so that the roles are shuffled again. Otherwise, you would have the same number of players.
Yeah.
So...
It is at least deterministic based upon who is playing after the first night.
Right.
I still don't understand the seeding, but that's how the RNG is currently working as I understand it.
Yeah, so it's part of the skip in the speed run of this ceremony is whether or not the reporters are alive.
Yeah, if you kill Chiemi right away, then you get manipulate the RNG so that everyone's actually a werewolf, and then you immediately fulfill the win condition.
You have to actually no clip through the rocks as you're falling down on your motorcycle, and it actually takes you right to the ending boss.
Takes you right to Yomi.
Yeah, straight in. All right. This has gone on long enough.
Until next time. Yeah.
Awoo.
All right. Awoo.
I hate that this is our sign off.
Don't turn into goo.
Yes. Good. Thank you.